Welcome back, everyone. Now, today I'm going to be going over something that is pretty interesting. So, it's player death or character death in Call of Cthulhu, specifically. Now, if you've been playing Call of Cthulhu for a while, you know by now that death is an integral part of the game. Characters are dying right and left, non player characters and monsters, and the actual player characters. Now, this video, I'm going to attempt to do two different things. First, I'm going to try and let people kind of new to the game understand why death is such an important, integral part of the game. The way, how important it is that there are players who die. And then, secondly, I'm going to talk to keepers about making sure that there's not, while characters dying is important, you do not just want to kill players just because. And you want their death to be spectacular. So, let's just start right off the bat. But before I get into it, I just want to say hello, this is Deathstroke9. I make content based on role-playing games, mostly Call of Cthulhu. If that sounds interesting to you, please bleed out the subscribe button and join our legion. And yeah, let's start. So, first of all, for new players, you might have come in from Dungeons and Dragons or anything other than Call of Cthulhu, as far as I know. Call of Cthulhu as a game has a combat system that's extremely lethal. Then it has a sanity system that is a downward spiral the whole time, where every time you see something horrifying, you take sanity damage, and as your sanity goes down, it becomes harder for you to... So normally the way to minimize the damage taken is by making sanity rolls, but it becomes harder and harder to make sanity rolls the less sanity you have, so it just gets worse and worse, and then it's just a downward spiral. And if you drop to 0 sanity, your player character, according to the rules, is out of the game. I do not entirely use those rules. I just make the player, a lot of times I'll turn them into a bad guy or a cultist or make them go insane, but I still will let them keep playing. But that's besides the point. The point is very lethal game with multiple varied and wondrous ways to die. And your characters are going to have very little health. Even with Pulp Cthulhu, you get like a maximum of double the health. And that's still, instead of 7, you now have 14 hit points. And with guns doing up to like 10 damage in a shot, still very, very easy to die. And that's just guns. Guns are nothing compared to the horrors of the mythos. Now, to get used to it, you have to experience it. And so when you go to play a game, do not be concerned or upset if your character dies. Because I've found out that character death is actually really fun. It is very, which is why Call of Cthulhu is for it's not for everybody. Not everyone's going to like it, because in the game you're the victim instead of the hero. But dying in Call of Cthulhu can be extremely gruesome and pretty exciting, and yeah, just good times all around. Death. Yeah. What's wrong with us? But seriously though, if you die in game, all types of incredible things can happen. And it's just interesting to note that unlike Dungeons and Dragons, you got to expect and relish the destruction that you're in on a daily basis. And the idea of the investigators is not to die. The idea is not to die. You're not trying to stay alive. That's not the goal. Unless your character is specifically geared toward that. In general, the goal is to somehow stop or push back the enemy, even if it's only for a short amount of time. And that's something that makes the game's premise scarier, is that it'll never truly work. You can push, but it's really, you're a rock getting eroded away by the ocean, and eventually it's going to crumble, right? And a rock is a really bad example. Sand getting pushed away by the ocean, So yeah, moving along. So just understand, new players and new keepers, that player death is actually pretty cool and you should utilize it. But now, a word of warning for all keepers, especially new keepers. You might have read all through this rule book, seen that how much carnage can be wreaked upon everything. I want to warn you against killing anybody for the sake of killing them, because while a satisfying player demise can be an extremely exciting or interesting or emotional climax to your game or scenario, you should never just kill them for no reason. If there's a story reason driving the gore, then okay. But if you look at, my video on how to create monsters, right? One of the things that I said in that is that gore does not make something scary, and gore does not make a good story. And that's what a lot of modern horror movies don't seem to understand. Obviously, some people have a refined taste for that. I don't, personally. I think that a building sense of dread is far more horrifying than just a bunch of blood and gore. And that should be true for players and keepers as well, especially since Call of Cthulhu is not conventional horror, it's cosmic horror, which is not slasher horror. You're not... It's not... Insanity is almost more important than carnage in Call of Cthulhu. So this is I just want to let all prospective keepers understand that if they're going to be killing their players, make sure that the death is incredible and that it's not going to mess up players' enjoyment of the game. Because again, as I've said many times before, the entire idea of the game is to have fun with everyone and create an interesting or cool storyline. And you're not going to be able to do that if you ostracize all your players by TPKing them for no reason. In fact, the Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook states this very well in the chapter on playing the game, where it talks about player death. And it gives a few different things. Let me find the exact... Let's see. So, if you go to page... Okay. On page 209, you get this little text block, which says, first of all, it'll say, Call of Cthulhu is not a competition between you and the players. The rules ensure that everyone's treated fairly. However, there's no mechanism to enforce game balance between the keeper and the players. Balance is derived from the decisions that you make as the keeper. So you decide what the investigators encounter, you set the scene, you decide on the actions of the non-player characters. You already have all the power. The odds can easily be stacked against your players. There are no rules to limit what you can present the investigators with. If you just kill them all, it will not make a good game or happy players. Usually the best option open to the investigators is to flee and live to fight another day, which again enforces my point that you should not be just randomly killing investigators, and if they do die, it should not be a TPK. At least one person should always get away. That's not always true, but that's a rule of thumb. And here's the main thing I'm talking about, is it says, fair warning, keepers should endeavor to provide players with the chance to avoid investigator death wherever possible. Rather, it is recommended that keepers give players up to 3 chances to avoid certain death. Right there is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. You do not want to ever railroad the players, so you do not want to just throw something at them that's automatically going to kill them. You want to give them chances to make checks, even if they're hard checks, to escape from stuff. You give them 3 extreme checks, though, then that's kind of... no. But you want to be able to connect with your players and have them all have a fun time. Everything's going to be happy times, sunny days, So, my point is, character death is fun. Why am I saying these things? Character death is fun and interesting and goes very well with the concept of this horror game. However, don't overuse it. because if you do, you're probably going to break a lot of friendships, or prospective friendships, or just relationships in general. You might get disowned. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a fair warning. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Anything else? Let me think. Not really, no. Stay tuned for some newish content to the channel, because I am still waiting on some books that are not Call of Cthulhu. They're actually RuneQuest, or role-playing in Glorantha, because multiple people have requested it. So if you are one of those people, thank you for requesting it. I'm still waiting on it, and when it does get here, I'm going to make that some form of review and maybe a few how-to videos after I've run a game, or at least, you know, learn the rules, a priority. So anyone who likes RuneQuest, stay tuned for that. And anyone who has any other games they want me to review, please let me know. Specifically, you know, my channel's been growing a little bit recently. It's been very interesting to see the channel grow. I've been excited for everything that's been going on. And if any of you have like a scenario on DriveThruRPG, or if you're any type of small publishing company or big publishing company who wants me to review any type of game, scenario, anything, let me know. I think you can access my email address from this. And if you can't, go to like Instagram or any of the other places you can contact me, send me a DM, you know, whatever you need to do. If we can work out a deal, I would be very willing to do that, because soon I don't have the resources to continuously be purchasing books all the time. I am saving for a better computer, better equipment, so that my videos stop looking the way they do. So yes, it would be of huge assistance if you could work a deal with me rather than me spending $500 on your source books. So that being said, thank you very much for watching this video. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Go look at some of the other content. It's a lot of very useful information. I hope my channel is unique. I know that there are a few other channels on YouTube, like Seth Sorkowski, an amazing channel, inspiration that, well, yeah, one of the main things that inspired me to start doing this. How to be a great game master, Critical Role, Nerdarchy. There's a few others. There's quite a few, actually. And Seth Sorkowski, to me, is the one that's that inspired me the most. And I strive to make sure that my channel is unique compared to them. And I hope I bring something else to the table. And what I think I bring to the table is where Seth Sorkowski makes general game master advice videos, and then he makes a lot of different types of reviews. And I think took Call of Cthulhu and went as far, or am going deep into it with very in-depth creator resources and tools, and giving you guys my opinion and the things that I've learned through a couple years of writing, acting, different workshops that I've done, and just from quite a few years of running role-playing games of D&D, and now Call of Cthulhu, and hopefully eventually RuneQuest and more. So, yeah. Thank you for listening to this rant if you're still sticking around. More great content coming your way. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Deathstroke 9, out.